Welcome, my beautiful souls, and welcome, my fellow Virgos. Today we are doing a special reading for you. And I'll tell you why I'm doing this. After I do the monthly readings, if I have any sign, reach out and if it's usually five people or more who just feel like they need extra help, then I do their readings. Some may say, well, you do Virgos a lot. Is it because it's your sign? No. It's not because it's my sign. It's because I have a lot of Virgos. Well, I just had a lot of Virgos reaching out. So this is why I'm doing your reading. I feel like there's something special that you need to know that your guides want you to know. Many of you know I read through my spirit guides. I just call them my spirit team, my spiritual team. And I know they connect to your guides. Like I know that your guides know that you're going to be here. I trust that 100%. This is something that my guides put within me, and I'm very grateful for that because I know the right people will hear the reading in their divine timing. Um, you know, I'll put it out probably today or tomorrow, but let's say it doesn't reach you for a month, and then you watch it and you're like, everything I needed to hear. Well, that is your divine timing. And that's what our guides are so great at. They will nudge us. They will give us signs. Like when you watch a reading, and my readings are long, um, and I feel like it's a shame if you miss the end because I feel like that's where the silver lining is at. But I know not everybody can handle a long reading, though you can break it up, though. Then I think, well, that interrupts the flow. You do it any way you want. I just know who's ever meant to hear it will hear it. I have nothing in particular that I'm thinking about, like love, money, just whatever your guides want you to hear. I am your open vessel. I am your messenger. So, yeah, let me know what you think. All right, so I'm gonna put my mobile deck down. Of course, we use Mother Mary, or not use, but give Mother Mary the honor of opening up our reading. It's interesting. I just saw this beautiful. It's like a poem. Um, but it was about Mother Mary and her love for us. Her children. Um, It was just beautiful, and I was going to share it on the community post, but it would have cut half of it off and it wouldn't have made sense. So you would have had to click on it to bring the whole poem on. So I did put it on Facebook, but I didn't do it on YouTube. So, anyways, we are going to use the major arcanas and we're going to use the psychic tarot. And I have to tell you, I don't use the psychic tarot that often for Scorpio, for Virgo. I'm not even sure why. I do allow my intuition to really, like, I allow the deck to call to me. And sometimes I even question it, like, are you sure? Yes, psychic tarot. So we'll see why. Um, and then we have some extra, like the clarifying love situations. If love comes into the picture, we'll bring out the romance angel. So this is a full reading. Um, but I feel like with special messages. So let's go ahead and get into it. By the way, I should have said this is for Virgo Sun, which I am, Virgo Moon, which my boyfriend is, Sun and Moon. Yeah, deep, deep. Virgo Moon is very, very deep. Um, Virgo Rising. I think my daughter's a Virgo Rising. Because she's an Aquarius Moon, Scorpio Sun, and I think Virgo Rising. Um, s- uh, some of you were intuitively guided. I already know that. Like I just know that now. And I'm so glad you trusted your intuition this is an energy reading. Like, you should feel it. You should get goosebumps. Um, like, it will relate to you. You can certainly ask your guides to also send you signs of confirmation. Again, your guides already know you're here, so you don't have to even invite them here. But just to, make you feel like you should feel it. But you can certainly ask for confirmation at the same time. You'll probably get goosebumps, something like that. I may say a name out of the blue. It's interesting. I used to censor myself. Like, these like weird names would just come out. But now I don't, because now I know that those are someone's words of confirmation. All right, let's go ahead and open up the reading. We're going to bring the lid down. What do you guys think about that strip light that I put up? I still have to shoot a video for it. It was gifted to me. Well, gifted, but I'm supposed to do a promotional video, which I still have to do. There's days that I love them, and there's days, I don't know, I feel like I don't know. Tell me what you think. Tell me if you notice a certain eye looking at you, and I'll leave it at that. All right, Mother Mary. Beautiful. Optimism. It's like the Three of Wands. I expect good things to happen, and they do. Like, that should be your mantra. I expect good things to happen, and they do. Remember, it can work on the opposite end, too. I expect bad things to happen, and I'll be damned they do. Well, I'm going to change my perception, my perspective, and I'm going to start expecting good things. I'm going to watch them come in. And I feel like as they come in, give a little gratitude, because I feel like that only helps more good things to come in. I expect good things to happen, and they do. I love it. Okay. Energy of optimism. I'll be honest, I feel like Virgo needs a little optimism right now. Um, I know that I've been like drinking coffee like crazy, low energy, though I still have to do the same amount of work. You know what I mean? Like, but I feel shift. And I have a feeling it was the full moon in Scorpio, the last spring full moon for the year, for this last 9 years. This is the year of the hermit. Well, us as Virgos, we should be pretty comfortable with that. It's that final push. What's no longer working, what's no longer fitting. And why is that usually the case? Because a lot of times you're raising your own vibration by doing the things I know you're doing, by being more spiritual, by giving, by loving, all that. And that naturally raises your vibration. And those around you doesn't always mean that their vibration is raising. So it's just natural that that energy wants to fade away. It's the human part of us that pulls it back in again. All right, let's go ahead and begin with the major arcanas. Chariot. Well, that goes perfect with Mother Mary's message. I expect good things to happen, and they do. The chariot is about unlimited potential. And I really mean that, unlimited potential. The chariot requires balance, the feminine, the masculine, the light, the shadow, which we all carry, and finding true balance within that. It's like we all have a shadow side. We just have to accept that. But it doesn't mean we can't control it. We certainly can. Um, so when you are balanced, well, life just feels so much better. I love the beautiful rainbow behind it. Remember that your chariot is moved by your intentions, not by the reins of the horse. Your intentions tell the chariot where to go. Wow. You put optimism and that together, it's like hang on to your hat. All right. Also, card of Cancer, by the way. I don't know if I said that. Beautiful. Empress. It's exactly what I was talking about when I was saying a higher vibration. The Empress lives in a higher vibration. Doesn't mean she's perfect. No one's perfect. And, as Virgos, we're perfectionist. We're never going to reach it. So we should stop. You know what I mean? We do the best that we can and be happy with that. The Empress, loving, nurturing, powerful, strong, courageous. Like, there's a million things I could say about the Empress. But how did she become this person? It's because of the experiences that she's been through. She has been through the same experiences as us, but she's looked at them, broke them down, asked herself, what did I learn from this? How am I growing because of this? She's got this beautiful bounty on her lap and unlimited potential beside her. Remember, she does keep her heart open. It's one of the things she's learned. Just because someone else broke my heart doesn't mean that everyone's going to break my heart. Matter of fact, maybe the last person who broke my heart actually did me a favor because now, well, I feel like now I'm free and then potentially moving towards someone maybe who is, let's just say, more of the same vibrational energy. I just feel like that's the way the world works. Vibration, energy. Wow. Oh, it's like I don't know which way to take him, but we'll take him away. Come out. We have the High Priestess, your intuition, and then we have the Hangman. So the Hangman is seeking wisdom, wisdom on my next steps. This sometimes is a pause in the action, but it's mirroring the chariot. So I feel like that pause is coming to an end. I love the High Priestess right next to the Hangman because this is like picking up the guidance that you're looking for intuitively. In other words, your guides know what you're going through. The Hangman, he put himself in that position. He's loosely bound. He could move at any time, but there's something he's seeking, he or she. And I often feel like it's spiritual wisdom, but to use on this earthly plane. So I do love the High Priestess right next to the Hangman. Even when you think of the Empress, the mother figure, a lot of times you'll see her like 9 months pregnant. At least that's what it looks like. She's about to give birth. But she also knows that sometimes it's best to hold back until the right time. You know what I mean? Like Again, think of having a baby, your goal is to carry that baby for 9 months so it's completely developed. I know it's not always the case, um, but again, the Empress, I feel like the Empress has something on her mind, and she may be asking herself, is this the right time? Everything seems to be pointing to it. Whatever it is, Mother Mary's telling you to expect good things, and therefore it is. All right, let's bring in the Psychic Tarot. I don't know why I feel excited to bring in this deck because I don't know. I feel like something magical is going to happen, to be honest. So let's see. See if I'm picking it up right. All right. Mm-mm. Okay, Eight of Swords, a self-created prison. Here it's called Trapped in Fear. It really doesn't fit. Not when you see the Empress. So, to me, I have a feeling this has already happened, and chances are you freed yourself from this. Because it's a self-created prison, you're the only person who can free yourself. Just like the hangman freeing himself. I don't know. It's like there's a lot on your mind. There's a lot on your mind. It is an eight, so it is about a new beginning. In that energy, you do have to allow it. It's just flipped around. Rejoice in celebration. Interesting. Following the Eight of Swords, right? Because in the Eight of Swords, it like celebrating doesn't seem to be um the name of the game. But because it's an eight and it is you who can set yourself free, I have a feeling that's exactly what you did. So I feel like the hangman has found the answer that the hangman was seeking and now is setting himself free. The hangman has tied himself to that tree. The Eight of Swords, this is you putting yourself behind these bars. And there's a million different reasons why. And I say a million different reasons because there's a lot of different people here. And different people have different reasons. 8, 9, 10, 11. 11. We have spiritual strength. Look at that. I feel like this is a great image of showing your spiritual team and how they protect you. This is about reflection. But this type of reflection is really about how you have grown, how you have evolved, how you're turning into the Empress or have already turned into the Empress. I feel like once you go through the reflection of maybe looking at your spirituality, a lot of people claim to be spiritual, but then don't act in that way, if that makes sense. It's like someone who claims to be religious, but then does the opposite of what the Bible or the Quran or whatever it is, whatever religion, like does the opposite of what their faith tells them they should be doing. We have, look at this, the Emperor. Now, I have to tell you, I just got done doing Aquarius's reading, and the Emperor and the Empress was in their reading. Different decks. I'm using different decks. So it's not because I didn't shuffle. It's because they're meant to be here. Well, well, well. You guys know how I love seeing the Emperor and the Empress in the same reading. We have Shadow. So this is the moon, part of Pisces, ruler of Cancer. Double Cancer on the board, by the way. But what I love about this image is literally this is someone looking at their shadow self through their light body. You know, like get to know. I was going to say your enemies, but I don't want to call your shadow your enemy because your shadow self, you need that. You know, it needs to be able to come out when called upon. But this is you having balance over it. The moon mirroring the Eight of Swords. Some of you just may be uncomfortable with change. You know, like maybe you feel that a change is needed, but that doesn't make it easy. Not for everyone. But I do feel like because the Eight of Swords is leading us off, that is the first thing we have to look at. You know, like why did I put these barriers around me? What am I trying to protect myself from? Why am I not trusting in my guides or my own intuition? High Priestess is your intuition. It is your GPS for this lifetime. So, something had you doubting, like I feel a doubting Thomas. But sometimes I feel like it's simply the unknown. Like, I don't know what lies out there. Expect good things to happen. And they do. We have the mother and the father, the feminine and the masculine. Okay, well, now I know why the Eight of Swords was created. So now we have the Four of Cups, discontentment and boredom. But this is in one's emotional life. The meaning of the Four of Cups is learning to use your spiritual discernment. And I feel like that'll save you every day, every time. But, you know, it's learning that. It's learning to trust our intuition. You know, it's learning that we'll be safe to love again if our vibration has raised within just through the law of attraction. What comes back to you must also be of that vibration. So, you know what I feel like? I'm just going to say it. I feel like Scorpio, you got your shit together. There's just one element. There's just one element you're not satisfied or you're not completely fulfilled in. Now, in the Four Cups, you can't see it in this image, but there is a cup that's coming in. And that's why it's asking you to use your spiritual discernment. Like, do I accept this cup? You know, I feel like it's not of the past. I won't say it's not old love, but it doesn't feel like any type of love that like really disrespected me, like really hurt me. Mm-mm. Because I feel like you have evolved beyond that. But it does represent a cup coming in. By the way, the eight going down to a four, it's like cut in half. Well, if there's any card I want cut in half, it's the eight of swords because then it turns into healing. Heal that mind, and the rest will follow. All right, keep going. So don't forget, after this change of the Eight of Swords, because eight is about a new beginning, but you have to allow this new beginning. This is you. This is you who's created the walls. And it's going to be you who brings the walls down. Why are you doing that? How are you able to do that? Because I feel that through the difficulty, you found real spiritual clarity. You may not have liked the journey, but I feel like ultimately it's what's made you who you are today. And I feel like it should be someone you're proud of. Here's your spiritual team, like saying, we never leave your side. We're always going to guide you. Even if you miss our signs, we'll find another way. And they will. That's why many times I feel like the messenger. Like I'm here just to give you the messages. You know, I don't know why I'm thinking this right now, but I had someone come to my channel and left a comment and said, I forget how they said it, but it was relating to the time, like how long they were. And then they told me I need to go away. And I thought, well, I actually said to him, I said, well, that's strange because you come to my channel. And by the way, it didn't bother me. I want you to know that. Like, I don't take those comments on as like, it just literally was them. They don't have the patience. That's fine. They can go find a short reading. But I said, how can I go away? This is my channel. I'm like, maybe you need to go away. I didn't say that mean, and I don't know why that's coming up. Maybe because there's something you're dealing with and it feels irrational. Like that comment just seemed weird, telling me to go away from my own channel. So something like that must be happening. Beautiful. Positive movement forward. Another eight coming under rejoice and celebration. Interesting how we've an eight down to a four and now the four back to an eight, but it is completely different energy. So it's telling me that you did free yourself. A lot of times in the Eight of Swords, I feel, especially for us Virgos, it's our thoughts. It's like our thoughts get trapped. You know what I mean? It can relate to things that have happened, but sometimes we get trapped in that. But I do feel like when you feel your own worth, then you start to understand like the people or the things that have happened. They may have happened to move you into a higher vibration. Like a soul's desire. to go through this experience and see if I could come out the other end. That's how I feel like our soul works. Like I'm down here in this earth, in this lifetime, to have experiences, to have adventures, to have growth, not to get stuck. And it's normal to get stuck, but be honest with oneself at the same time. This person is not expecting good things to happen in the Eight of Swords, but it does feel like it's of an emotional nature. Something is changing. I feel like it's you. I feel like it's your energy. Maybe you waited around for someone and there just was no change. 88-44. All right, let's keep going. Can't wait to see what mirrors the Four of Cups because I feel like something has changed here that opens up this. Part of it is your spiritual growth, but your spiritual strength. And again, you never lose that. You have the Seven of Cups. Choose wisely. So here comes that cup. It's like sign language. Probably is sign language. I'm gonna have to look that up. So Seven of Cups, it can be like it could be something like this cup coming in, but it may be during a chaotic time. Maybe a lot of things going on. But yet the decision will be left up to you. There's nothing wrong with that though. I feel like the decision should be yours. I love this coming right under spiritual strength though. So even as you're trying to make this decision, your spiritual team is like, we're right here. We're right beside you. By the way, we're getting a lot of Cancer energy in this reading, making me wonder if I should do Cancer next. All right, we have balance. This is justice. Justice can certainly be about the law, can be about divorce. It is about cutting ties. Doesn't always have to be a person. Could be the way that I've been thinking. Just like the chariot needs balance to become that unlimited potential. Well, the sword of justice, much like the high priestess, I feel like are gifts that we were given in this lifetime to use this sword when needed. So, I have a feeling this is you cutting something out of your life. The chances are weren't serving you. And when justice shows up in a reading, it's about making you whole again. But I feel until I use the sword of justice, I may feel a little unbalanced. Scorpio does, or why do I keep saying Scorpio? Virgo. You think I would get it right? Since I am, I was just going to say Scorpio again, since I am a Virgo. By the way, this is the card of Libra. Look at that. There's another 11. 11, 11. And then we have the Two of Swords. So, not great, right? Mental conflict. That's probably why I felt in the Eight of Swords is more like my thought system. For some reason, maybe I'm not believing, you know, that anything could be possible. I'm certainly not expecting good things to happen in the Eight of Swords. But what I love is the Eight of Swords has now come down to the Two of Swords. So it's still a little mental conflict, but I know why. I feel it's for those who may be uncomfortable with change, knowing that you may be starting something anew. Yet Mother Mary is telling you to expect good things to happen. The Empress with the Chariot on one side and the High Priestess on the other side, I really feel is unstoppable energy. The Empress and the Emperor being in the Empress and the Emperor being in the same reading, which by the way, their intuition is connecting them, but not only their intuition, but it feels like their spiritual team. You guys know I call the Emperor and the Empress my power couple when they show up in the same reading. Though justice is below the Emperor. For some of you, it could literally be like a father figure. Could even be renewed love. There's like these ebbs and flows to this line. You have this discontentment and boredom, emotional life, but then it moves into a very positive energy. Actually says positive movement forward. It's mirroring the Chariot. So I feel like this is you at least saying yes to yourself. And then I feel like something else happens. So I feel like these two eights, completely different energy, they really cannot fit in the same vibration, let's say. So that tells me this Eight of Swords has already happened. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean everyone's out of it completely, because it did go down to the Two of Swords. Some of you may be making a decision right now of whether to cut something out of your life. But if that's the case, then you feel that its course, like it's run its course, like what is left, so to speak. Intuition on the bottom of the deck. Mm. Tower underneath that, so that makes sense with the Eight of Swords. And then solitude. With intuition on the bottom of the deck, to me, that gives you a little bit of breathing room. She's looking right at that Eight of Swords. So intuitively, she's telling herself, she or he, I've got to break myself free, or otherwise, I've got to accept this life the way it is. Something tells me that that's not what you want. Let's bring in the Gilded Chiron, go right over it, and go deeper. Break it down even more. see what's coming in, see why Mother Mary is telling us to expect good things. Look at this. The Chariot over the Eight of Swords now. With the Chariot right there. Answer again. Some of you have, you may have been having a hard time believing in your potential. There may be old voices in your head, you know, and I feel like the voices were from people who may have made you feel like that you wouldn't be successful, or maybe have a certain goal in mind and you got a lot of flack and you took it on. But that was just their perspective of a situation I feel chances are they really don't know that much about anyway. Like, I could see some of you saying, you know what? I've been on this spiritual journey. I am now turning into the Empress's energy, which means your heart is open. It means you're loving and nurturing, but it means you're powerful. You're strong. You're wise beyond your years. You're empathetic. You're compassionate. And maybe for some of you, you now know who deserves your time and maybe who doesn't. I just get this feeling of not believing in the potential that you truly have. But it feels, again, like it's coming from outside noise. Could be way back from your childhood, also. I feel like, we live our childhood and then we spend half our life overcoming. I mean, some people had a great childhood. We have the Queen of Cups. Look what she's holding in her hand. Cup. There. Coming over the Three of Cups. Chariot on both sides. Her back now is to the Eight of Swords. Whoa. Look how they all came out at once. We have the Seven of Wands. Standing your ground. We have the Queen of Wands. We have the Death card. Well, there's Scorpio. But we just went through the Scorpio full moon. And what is Scorpio, the energy all about? Transformation. Transformation. Closing of a door, opening of a new door. Well, I hope the door that's closing is of the Eight of Swords. And the new door that's opening, listen, I hope it's this cup for some of you. But I feel more than anything, I hope it's trust within yourself again. We have, oh my gosh, look at that. Four cups over the Four of Cups. And by the way, in this image, you can see the cup coming in. It's coming from the hand of divine. So there's really nothing to fear here but fear itself. But remember, the meaning of this is you using your spiritual discernment. We have the Five of Swords over positive movement forward. Eight of Swords over choose wisely. And then the Hangman over balance, justice. Interesting. The Hangman right there. Look at the synchronicities, first of all. So now we have two Four of Cups. Do I think, I mean, could it be two cups for you? It could be. But honestly, I feel like it is a new cup. The Five of Swords over positive movement forward. This is where the toxicity lives. And I want to say the Eight of Swords over choose wisely. Be very hard to make a decision in this energy. Yet with the Seven of Wands above it, like standing your ground. But, to a point, like standing your ground against someone who is just full of shit anyway. Well, I don't even know if they're worth the time. But I feel like this is speaking about you and what you want to do in the world, and maybe what you're already doing in the world. By the way, taking that spirituality and helping others, because in the Seven of Wands, I often feel it's also helping to put out other people's fires. Like you've gone through these, you've gone through all these wands, and now you're helping others. And maybe that's exactly the way it was meant to be. And by the way, who better to help than the Empress? Again, been there. I understand it. I understand how you feel. Let me try to help you find your way out. Now, this is saying the way I'm reading it is this cup is coming in no matter what. It's just how is it received? Because I'm getting a little bit of both. Like, if the Eight of Swords still exist and this cup comes in, well, that makes it a lot harder to make a decision, right? Coming over, choosing wisely. That feels like pressure now. But it's really not pressure. It's pressure we're putting on ourselves. And again, I feel like it's based out of other people's, let's just say, limited views, but towards you. Two hangmans, and they're really mirroring each other. You know, I wouldn't be surprised because I often feel the Emperor and the Empress have lived very similar lifestyles. And what I mean by that is I don't feel like either one of them had an easy life. That's what makes them who they are. It is those difficult experiences that probably taught me more than anything. It is learning how to free myself and not get stuck. That is one big major lesson that honestly I feel just saves your life. It is the ability to read energy. So, anything of a negative nature, the Empress will, and the Emperor, by the way, both of them, again, very similar energy. Both have had hard lives, both have overcome. I feel like for a few, some of you may be in a marriage where you're not sure if it's like got what it takes to last. I feel like you may give it another shot. But I feel like if that's the case, hopefully both are coming to the table with a lot more clarity, like willing to, well, speak the truth. But having walls around you, that won't help your situation. That just makes it more confusing to be truthful. I know some people say, well, I built the Eight of Swords because I don't want my heart broken again, or something like that. Well, let's go up to the Hangman because the Hangman is seeking spiritual wisdom to use on this earthly plane. The High Priestess, I am your GPS. I will guide you. Trust me. It's hard to get through these walls. But the similarities between the Emperor and the Empress are pretty great, right? We have two chariots, two four of cups, two hangmans. Well, let's keep going. I feel like the best, I feel like with the death card and the hangman right there, that interesting. And then the moon again. The moon connected to the moon. And then the king of cups with the queen of cups. We're going to put him right there. Hopefully you can see that I'm bringing down a little bit more. I definitely feel the Two of Swords is for those who are a little fearful of just change, of the uncertain. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. You're right, because you're writing it as you go, right? This is your movie, your book. It's your book of your life. And you are writing it as you go along, and when you know that and you understand that your spiritual team never leaves your side, they're always there to help guide you. Your angels do need your permission. So feel free to invite them in, like real quick. When I get in my car, I always invite Archangel Michael into my car and I vision him sitting, like if I'm by myself, him sitting in the passenger seat as my protector. And I asked him to protect me or whoever or who's ever with me to and fro. So, they're there. All right, let's go right below. And then we'll come back and clarify if needed. We have the Nine of Wands. So the Nine of Wands coming over these two Four of Cups. Nine of Wands is reflection. I call the person in the Nine of Wands my spirit warrior. Because everyone behind this person is an experience that they've been through, but it's what they've overcome. Every wand that like they put in the ground, it's an accomplishment. It's something I've overcome. You know, it's a real, when you do this reflection, it's real power. And I can tell you the Emperor and the Empress had to go through this. I'm saying had to go through it. They wanted to go through it. We have the Two Swords again. Over positive movement forward. The Five of Swords above it. Justice again. Wow. And then the Knight of Swords. Someone is trying to make a decision right now whether to cut ties with someone. And I feel like you have to trust your own intuition. I could tell you that it kind of looks like you do, but I also, like, I also know that love can be saved. But let's say can't. Let's just say too much has happened to overcome. Some of you may just be in that mode of making the decision of cutting ties, like ending. But I have a feeling there's two people who are making similar decisions. And I almost wouldn't be surprised if some of you get news or maybe even a phone call of someone who has freed themselves, who is now claiming the single status. And let's face it, as a Virgo, or at least the way I am, I couldn't be with someone who was with someone else. I just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like the jealousy would come out in me. And I don't want to live in that world anymore. I've been there, done that. So I think it's imperative that if this person is making that announcement, and if they're making it to you, first of all, I feel like it would be true, but it may be the news that you were waiting to hear. Now, it can be the other way around, or it may be both of you, because the similarities could certainly speak of both of you going through very similar energies. Double Libra on the board, by the way. Double Pisces, ton of Cancer, Judgment. So your spiritual team calling you to the present moment. It's like clear your mind. Clear your mind of all that clutter. Move your energy into the present moment. Let the past go, my dear. Let the past go. If you've tried and tried and tried, but you still keep getting the same results, maybe it's time to stop trying. And maybe it's time to allow yourself to have a rebirth in your life. Judgment is calling you to the present moment, as is Mother Mary. And even the death card speaks about the closing of one door, but then that is so a new door can open. That means it's time for a new door to open. Ten of Swords, dang it, and the Seven of Swords over the two swords. So, interesting. Wow, holy swords in this reading. Ten of Swords. That tells me the Seven of Swords has already happened. Seven of Swords is untrustworthy energy, period. They call it the thief in the night. Definitely someone who tells, if not a bunch of little white lies, maybe some big major lies. Comes from a lack mentality. Can they evolve if they choose to? But with the Ten of Swords right there, I feel like, no. I feel like your spiritual team is like, my dear, sometimes we want something or someone because it's what we're used to. And we are a mutual sign. So we do have to learn how to go with the flow. I feel like one of the best things, or one of the best tricks, or not tip, let's say tip, one of the best tips as it relates to life is knowing that many things have a cycle and cycles end, just like this ninth year of a 9 year cycle. And then we start a whole new 9 years. So the death card, it's important to know what you want and what you don't want. Doesn't always mean who I want, but I know what I don't want. I know I don't want any of this anymore. I don't want any more daggers in my back. I don't want any cheaters. Virgo, come on, we can't handle cheaters. Like, you cheat on me once, you've lost my respect forever. Not that I can't forgive, but I'll forgive and leave. Well, I shouldn't say that because when I was married, at the old age of 19, he cheated a lot, and it was 8 years before I left. But we had two small children, and not to put the blame on the children. Um, I don't even know what took me so long. The uncertainty. The uncertainty, though, my life was hell. Isn't that weird? Like how we stay in things, even if it's hellish, versus getting over the fear of taking a chance. Number one, on ourselves. And number two, on our spiritual team and the guidance. Like, if there's anything you can trust in this world, it is your spiritual team. They'll never lead you astray. It doesn't mean that what they ask for is always easy, but it will always result in, well, let's just say, a even higher vibration. The Eight of Swords are human made energies. Our spiritual being wouldn't create the Eight of Swords. But it's a human. We're in human bodies. Man, it feels like I was fighting for something that just is not worth the fight. Now I know why I felt like you needed this reading. But I feel like really what this is telling you is there's real promise for your tomorrows. But it starts in the here and now. What are you fighting for? Are they worth the fight? Is it worth the fight? Are you trusting in yourself? No matter what anybody else says. Like, I truly can feel that energy of some saying, like, I'm going to create a spiritual business, and people around you going, what? What does that even mean? Well, you'll know when you know. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I don't need to explain it. But I do feel that, like opposition to what you want to do. But it feels a little bit like a test. Will she do it anyway? Will he do it anyway? I hope you do. I hope you do. Okay, so I do feel like this emperor is ringing someone's phone. And I feel like the words that this emperor may be saying is, I am now free. Now, I also feel some of you don't even know who the emperor is yet. But what you're going to find are the similarities are great. Like, wow. Hmm. And just think about this. With all the swords and the difficult swords, but yet the emperor and the empress, neither one of them would live in the Eight of Swords, not once they reach a certain vibration. The Eight of Swords, it is a lower vibration, but it's just kind of not trusting. So whether I'm not trusting in myself or I'm just not trusting a situation or I'm not trusting my spiritual team. And that Five of Swords that's connected to the Eight of Swords, toxic, toxic. But look how much power they've had over your life. I feel like you're reclaiming your life. I feel like your spiritual team is helping you as much as they can. I feel like they're asking you to ask yourself, are there certain cycles that are due to end? And that just means there's nothing left. You know what I mean? Or you've evolved past these swords. The Empress doesn't worry about the Seven of Swords. Doesn't mean that someone with untrustworthy energy can't come towards her, but she'll know it immediately. She'll be like, buddy, you're in the wrong house. You're barking up the wrong tree. Now, if I was still in the Eight of Swords, I may look at that person and be like, well, you're attractive. You know what I mean? Like, okay. First thing I want to do is look at these two Four of Cups because that means there's two cups. Wow. The Empress and the Emperor. I don't know who else it could be for. And by the way, the Emperor and the Empress, I read them as all signs because I feel like each of them have walked the path of all the signs, extracted the wisdom, became more powerful than ever because of that. Like, you can't tell me something, you can't tell me a lie and expect me to call it the truth just because you call it the truth. You know what I mean? All right. Let's go right down the middle. Oh no, let's look at these two Four Cups. Ace of Wands, passion ignited, action needed. But first, the passion is ignited. Remember, there's two people. They're each receiving a cup, and they're sharing this Ace of Wands. See if anything else wants to come out with that. You know, that means it's go time. And that's what judgment would say, right? Present moment energy. I'm going to guide you. You're going to feel it. The high priestess is also going to let you feel it. Might feel like butterflies. I won't guarantee there won't be a little fear, but it's a different type of fear. It's like a holy shit type of fear. Seven of Pentacles. Well, it was always meant to be. Always meant to be. Seven of Pentacles is your tree of life. The pentacles on this tree are your soul seeds of intention. And that means everything is meant to happen, even the hardship. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but it is the hardship that teaches us the most. The Empress and the Emperor, they didn't turn out that way overnight. It was through trial and error, right? It was through learning and growing. But when the Seven of Pentacles shows up, to me, that means that there's seeds that are coming to fruition. And these seeds, pentacles, come into your physical life. Look at this. Four of Swords. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Healing. And by the way, don't think you need to be perfectly healed before you fall in love or before you do anything. Sometimes you're healing as you go along. Now we have 3 fours. Foundation. Sometimes we find ourselves in a relationship that really had no foundation to stand on. And one of the things we learn through our trials and errors is how important it is to begin something with a strong foundation. I feel like this love, it's healing love. It's healing. By the way, remember how that queen has that cup in front of her? Well, the king is holding a cup. Just saying. Okay. I think I'm just going to go right across the middle. For anything else that wants to come out, come on out. We have everybody on the table. I feel like with intuition on the bottom of the deck, for some of you, the lessons that you've been through were to teach you to trust your intuition. It's like, let me use my marriage again. Again, I was only 19, but everyone around me was telling me, you don't want to mess with that guy. Trust us. And the more people told me that, the more I wanted him. Of course, that was my young brain. But my intuition told me. And my intuition told me many times not to do something, but I did it anyway. And then I had to suffer the consequences. But the more that happened, the more I started thinking, okay, maybe I need to listen to my intuition. Your intuition is your higher self. Been there, done that. We've done this in past lives. There's nothing you can't overcome. It's interesting that both the Empress and the Emperor are connected to the Hangman. Beautiful. Nine of Cups. Beautiful. Well, I have to say, I feel like where I felt like someone may be making a phone call saying, I'm single. This is singular energy to me, but this is kind of love in my life. Doesn't mean all things are perfect, but I'm feeling pretty good here. I have inner harmony. And it's also about fulfillment of wishes. It relates back to Mother Mary's message so well. I have this inner harmony. I just expect good things to happen. And I'll be damned, they do. That's why. Six of Swords, all these swords on the board. And this is the one sword I was looking for. It doesn't say it here, but it's called moving on. What are you moving on from? Those five swords, those eight swords, any of the swords. Now, I'll be honest, the Six of Swords temporarily can feel difficult, but exciting at the same time because you're leaving the toxicity behind. You're starting a new life. Doesn't have to mean in all areas of your life, but I have a feeling your emotional life is changing, and I feel like your thoughts are changing. And then look at this. Now, this is Mother Mary's message, optimism. This is Judgment's message, present moment. This is gratitude. For what? For the little things. This is trusting in divine timing. This is literally saying to divine, which I think you should all say, I know my ships are going to come in, and I know they're coming in divine timing. And when they come in, baby, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be ready. I left the toxicity behind. I'm feeling better and better about my own life. I am finding this inner harmony. I'm believing in good things. It's amazing when we leave certain energy. I just think of different situations I've been in where I've left, where, yes, it wasn't easy, but then good things started to happen. Remember that Nine of Cups is also about fulfillment of wishes. See if anything else wants to come out. This feels like it's been a journey. I feel like I just took quite a journey with you. Ten of Wands. Eight of Pentacles. The Fool. Beautiful. And then, hello, Six of Wands. Victory and success. For those who told you that you couldn't, you wouldn't, you'd be no good, you'd never be successful, they didn't know what they were talking about. I feel like for some of you, you've been laying groundwork. And it feels like to create something, to bring to the world, like a business. And this now feels like the time. Because what follows is the Fool. So the Fool asks you to take a leap of faith on yourself. First and foremost, it's about you. The Fool leaves the past in the past, extracts the wisdom, never loses that. But this is someone who's willing to take a chance. And when I'm able to leave the past in the past, which is what you're doing, well, victory is what follows. Even in the Eight of Pentacles, for some of you, I do feel like for some of you, you've been laying the groundwork for something that you really do want to bring to the world, and this may just be the perfect time. I could imagine you doing that with all those swords beforehand. Some of you are going to be talking about those swords and helping other people overcome those swords that you yourself have overcome. Because in the Six of Wands, people are looking up to you for advice. Why? Because you've been there. You've done it. Tell us how you did it. Have a seat, my child. Let me tell you. Let me tell you so you don't have to go through it. Don't forget that wisdom of your experiences can do so much for you. You know, when you turn it around and you look at those experiences as how you have grown from them, how you've overcome. To me, just the way my spiritual team makes me feel is that we're meant to use our experiences then to help others, whether we do it as a living or whether we just naturally do that. But this is this is other people seeking you out. This is success. The Eight of Pentacles says, just be willing to put the work in. If you're willing to put the focus there, then it will only grow and grow and grow. And how do I love that you already have the Nine of Cups? So that alone tells me that once these swords are clear, how good you're going to be feeling. And does that not seem like the perfect time for you then to make some dreams of your own become your reality? This feels like a lesson of lower vibration versus higher vibration, or even lower vibration, and how do I evolve past it? Death card, big clue. Allowing this transformation, even if you're unsure, don't forget you have, you have the pen to write this story. How do you want it to look? Okay. Let's go ahead and bring in the clarifying love situations. Love is part of this reading. And it's just not any old love. It is a higher vibrational love. And the similarities between these two are great. So they're going to understand each other like no one else could. But I feel like the most important messages in this reading today are for you to trust yourself, for you to take some chances, even if you don't know how they're going to turn out. But expect that you will be successful as long as you're willing to put your focus there. Expect that this love that is showing will be the love of your life. It is sitting on the tree of your life. And in the Ace of Wands, that inspired, it's like passion ignited, it's like heart chakras activated, but it's also about action. I even love the Four of Swords over that. Healing. Well, many times you're not completely healed when you fall in love again, but there's certain loves that can help fix those last broken little pieces. And you do that for them also. All right. Clarifying love situations. What I love about this deck is it's not all about love or romantic love. Um, that's why I didn't use it very often in the beginning. I was using the romance angels and I thought, well, that's a little too much love. But I'm really starting to love the messages in here. So we'll see. We shall see. Temporary relief. Distractions aren't a quick fix for deeper issues. That kind of feels like the Eight of Swords. Envy's turmoil. Possessed hearts and jealous minds brew a storm of unyielding chaos. Well, yes, they do. And by the way, envy's turmoil. Could it be that everyone who told you that you wouldn't be successful? Could it be they were actually envious? Could be. Let's see if anything else wants to come out, and then we'll let this one be. Okay, we'll take you. Deeper waters. Step out of your comfort zone and explore new depths. Step out of your comfort zone and explore new depths. This is taking you out of your comfort zone. I know that. But it's also presenting to you how beautiful life can be. And it doesn't have to mean everything is going my way, but enough is going my way. You reclaim you, and I promise the rest will just follow. You reclaim your value, and I promise you, whoever comes next into your life, they're either going to value you and you're going to know it, or you're going to kick them out the door. Step out of your comfort zone and explore new depths. Okay. Let's go ahead and bring in the romance angels and see what wants to come out there. By the way, I think I said this, but everything's pre-shuffled. So when you see me, like, some people might be like, oh, you don't shuffle very much, Sandy. That's because I spend 15, 20 minutes shuffling before every reading. And it's just my meditative time. Sure. Hello, new love. A new person has stirred your romantic feelings. There's that Ace of Wands. And that's what's stirring those romantic feelings. Remember, that's coming over those two Four of Cups where It feels like two people receiving a new cup, which turns into new love. Chemistry. Back to the Ace of Wands again. There's a strong magnetic attraction here. Strong magnetic, oh, now I can't say the word magnetic attraction here. I drive myself crazy when I fumble on words. But I'll tell you why I fumble on words when I do a reading. I literally try to keep my energy completely open. Um, man, I don't know why my phone keeps going on. I turned the ringer off. Um, and then when I do go to think about something, it like takes me a minute. Anyways, it's kind of like I could stay in my old world, you know? I could stay behind this self-created prison. Maybe I'm fine there, but is your soul? If you remember that we're spiritual beings having human experiences, and the spirit is the intellect to our soul. Would your soul be okay with being in the Eight of Swords? Well, for the rest of your life? Or would your soul, much like the Fool, say, let's take a chance on something new? Don't forget, down here we have positive movement forward. But it was you that was creating that. Even this love. I feel like the clue is the chemistry, not what someone looks like, their energy. You're going to feel it. But that's what the Ace of Wands is about, feeling it. The heart chakra is being activated on purpose. You can say no, or you can just take a chance. I don't feel like this would come in with the Eight of Swords. It could, but I feel like that would be a very quick no, even if there's chemistry, because I feel like in that energy, there's still things that I need to work out so that I can be the best version of myself. And that is the best way to protect yourself. You know what I mean? Because when you are the best version, not the perfect version, but the best, then the universe responds to that. Again, like the law of attraction. I need to be what it is that I want returned to me. I may want great love in the Eight of Swords, but I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for it. But then go right across the table and we see the Death card. Closing that chapter. That means you're figuring some things out. And you're allowing this transformation to take place. You have two cards that speak about rebirth, Death card and Judgment. Judgment, present moment. Death card, I feel like that door needs to close. And I know it's going to be different for different people. But I feel like the whole reading in itself is really speaking to everyone in trusting within yourself and your abilities. Sometimes you don't know how good you are at something until you try it. That's kind of like what the Eight of Pentacles is, the willingness to go into something as the apprentice, knowing that you will learn as you go. In other words, you don't have to know everything. You just have to begin. Like, let's just be the fool. Let's expect good things to happen. And then let's watch them happen. And you know what comments I can't wait to get from you? Are the comments after the fact, where you say, Sandy, I did break myself free. And I am feeling better and better about my life. And someone new just entered my life. Those are the comments I can't wait to hear because I already know I'm going to get them. And I already know I'm going to get some who are still coming from the Eight of Swords energy. And I'm not censoring any of them. That's not what I'm talking about. I just know. It's like one of those things. I know what I know, what I know. I don't know how I know it, but I know it. Wow. Virgo. I love you guys so much. You know that. You know that. By the way, I didn't give any birth dates. So my birthday is September 13th. Sam's birthday is August 23rd. He's right in the cusp of Leo and Virgo. Um, and then on the other end of that, my nephew Sean, he's actually a Libra, but he's on the cusp of Virgo and Libra. Sam is a Virgo. So that's all the Virgos I can think of. Though I do a lot of personal readings for Virgo. Um, a lot. So funny. I should like break it down someday, like what signs reach out more. But in a way, intuitively, I already know that. Anyway, I'm just talking now. It's because I love you guys. I don't want to let you go, but I gotta let you go. I love you. I thank you. I really hope this reading resonates, and I hope you understand where it's coming from. Sometimes, and I know some people are not going to like this, but you watch it once and it's like, I don't know, maybe not. But you're listening with your human ears. And sometimes, and I know some of you already do this, you go back and you listen to it again. Doesn't have to be right away, but maybe at a different time. And you pick up messages completely different. Maybe you have a different perspective, but you have your spiritual ears on. I love you guys. Thank you. I'll see you next time at our table. Bye bye. Look, it doesn't even want to end. Love you.